Hi everyone, I'm Laura and welcome to Living on Cruise Control. I recently left the corporate grind to pursue my dream of living full-time on cruise ships. Yesterday we were parked in La Spezia, Italy, and it was pouring rain all day long, which gave me the perfect opportunity to work on a video about my costs and expenses while living full-time on a cruise ship. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you what I spent yesterday working on. And if you have additional questions, any comments, information that you want to see in a different way, please let me know in the comments. This is my first time putting this together. It literally took me all day. So let's dive in. I hope you like it. I'm going to start with my trusty reading glasses. A quick agenda of the things that we're going to cover. I'm going to go through my cruise fare, port fees, and taxes, as well as the deposits that are required for casino offers. Money that I spent on shore excursions, onboard expenses, crew tips, my flights, hotels, and ground transportation, and then my discretionary spending, and then all of my recurring expenses. And so what I decided to do, because my cruises don't always happen the first of the month through the end of the month, I thought I would do this by ship, basically by sailing. And so for the first 4 weeks, I actually spent on the Discovery Princess, doing the Mexican Riviera. So I did 4 back-to-back sailings from Los Angeles round trip, and we stopped at Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan, and Puerto Vallarta. Let's go dive right into the numbers. So this first slide that I want to talk you through is probably the most important, is what does it cost for me to cruise? So let me start by just walking you through each of these columns and then kind of share with you the information and why I've highlighted some of these numbers in yellow. So the first column are the dates of each sailing. So it was 7 days, so basically 28 days is what this video is going to cover. The next column is the type of cabin I was in and the room number I was in. Did I have any packages included? What my cruise fare was, my port fees and taxes, the non-refundable deposit that's required for casino offers, if I received any onboard credit, what my net cost is, and then did I receive any free play from the casino? And so let's walk through each of these rows and I'll explain each of these to you. So my very first sailing, I was in an obstructed balcony. This was the last offer that I booked, and I wanted to be specifically on this boat on this particular week because it lined up with the other 3. And I wanted to be able to sail back to back so that I wasn't spending money on flights and hotels, which we'll talk about in an upcoming slide. And they didn't have any mini suites available. So I started this journey on January 18th in an obstructed balcony. It was definitely obstructed. I'll work on Discovery Princess, room reviews, excursions, ports, etc. as we go along. So anybody that's sailing on the Discovery Princess will be able to have some of that information as well. All of my offers are for mini suites, and so because I still had the plus package included, they just downgraded my room. That was still included. So for this 7 days, my port fees and taxes were $180. You'll see that it's $180 for each sailing. It's the exact same amount. You'll see $200 non-refundable deposit. That is also required for all casino offers. You have to put down a $200 non-refundable deposit. If you cancel your cruise, that deposit's non-refundable, so you will lose that deposit. You get your port fees and taxes back if you cancel in time, but you do not get that deposit back. Now, the good news is that deposit actually turns into onboard credit. So you can use it for excursions, purchasing anything on the ship. You can also take that $200 and use your medallion, go to a slot machine in the casino, charge $200 to your room. You don't even need to spin the wheel. I mean, you're welcome to gamble if you want to, but you're not required to. And then just go up to the cashier and cash out your medallion. So once you cash that $200 in at the casino desk, then the cashier desk, then that charge to your room will be offset with the onboard credit that's already on your folio. So basically you'll owe nothing, and you'll have that $200 in cash. So technically that $200, if you choose to, you can take back as money. So technically it's not really the cost of cruising if that's how you choose to spend your onboard credit. And you'll see how I choose to spend my onboard credit, and it's changed each time I've sailed, and it's definitely different today. But starting back in the beginning, I'll talk you through how I spent my $200 of onboard credit. So if you add the 180 plus the 200, so the total dollars that I gave to Princess per sailing was $380. You'll see an additional column of onboard credit, OBC, onboard credit. This is the $200 from the deposit, and I have $100 for each of these sailings from being a Carnival shareholder. If you own 100 shares of Carnival, and Carnival Corporation actually owns Carnival Cruises, Holland America, Princess, and Cunard, I believe. And if you own 100 shares of their stock, you can very simply, through an app called Stock Perks, put in your cruise confirmation number, dates of sailing, and your name, and they will give you additional onboard credit for every cruise. What's even better is you can combine this perk with your casino offers only on Princess. I know you definitely can't try it on Holland America because I tried and it didn't work. And then I also understand from other people that are in the Carnival program that it doesn't work to combine them with Carnival. But I can tell you that right now you can combine your shareholder onboard credit benefit with your casino offers. So don't let that money sit on the table if you're cruising often. I'm not a stock advisor and I don't want to tell you what to do financially, but for me, it's turned out to be very beneficial. When you look at the number of cruises that I'm sailing, it's more than covered the cost of that stock and then some. So I'll do a separate video on just how to process and submit the requests for that additional onboard credit. A super quick video. It's really easy to do and processes within a day or two. So let's keep going. So if you look at the $380 total that I paid, and then the $300 in onboard credit, my net cost, if I chose to go to the casino and just cash in my onboard credit, which people can do, you can do, I can do, my actual cost for that sailing is $80. So that's why I kind of separated that so you understood the difference between onboard credit and the money that actually comes out of my pocket. So my out-of-pocket net cost for each cruise is $80. And then I did get $500 in free play. And I'll share this on my Patreon page. I set up a separate Patreon specifically for casino comp people and members to talk through anything casino related, and specifically casino related. I didn't want this channel to turn into just a casino channel, which I felt like it was starting to do. It's really about cruising. So if you're interested in anything casino, comp, free rooms, how the programs work, definitely go to my Patreon page. There's a free membership where I'm trying to do just general posts and updates, tours, etc. And then for $5 a month, there's a private community where we actually have a group chat and are interacting with each other on a more private level. It's $5 a month. So I'll put a link to that in the description. But I did get $500 in free play. It was like a Happy New Year. I didn't do anything to earn it. I had only been on one cruise back in November, if you recall. And this was my very first sailing since then. So they give away each year kind of this like Happy New Year, thanks for being a Princess Players Club. And I wound up getting $500 in free play. But I didn't have any other free play offered or given to me in any of these other sailings, just that initial kind of Happy New Year for the very first cruise of the year. Okay, so let's talk through. The rest of the weeks, I was in a mini suite, super close to each other. You can see 2 back-to-backs. I stayed in the next room. And then I just moved literally next door. Princess moves you. They'll move your stuff. They'll hang your clothes. It's so easy to do it back-to-back. Let's talk about the bottom row. So if you look at my totals, port fees and taxes were $720. My total non-refundable deposits was $800. So the money that I actually had to give to Princess for these 4 cruises was $1,520. Out of that $1,520, I received $1,200 of it back in Onboard Credit. That includes the deposit and the shareholder perks. So if I had cashed that in, my net cost for these 4 cruises was $320, and I wound up with $500 in free play. So if I was lucky in the casino and could turn that $500 into, let's say, $300 or $350, then I could 100% have cruised these 4 weeks with 0 out of pocket. But let's talk about how I actually spent this cruise. So next, I want to share with you how did I spend my onboard credit. So I'm not going to bore you with line item by line item. You're welcome to pause the video if you want to look at this closer. But here's a list with the dates and how I spent about $600 of that onboard credit. I got a massage. I didn't have any perks yet. I was, I think I was Ruby at this point. And so I didn't realize that there was a charge for room service. I've definitely learned a lot along the way. I'll include more that I learned along the way at the end of this video, so stay tuned. But I went on an excursion in Puerto Vallarta. It was like an artist in you excursion. That was a lot of fun. I'll do a review on that. They have a sanctuary club. It's a little bit different. They don't have like a pool, but it's a nice place to just go relax, and you get like an assigned chair. So I wound up doing that a couple of days, a couple of half days. That's $20. Bought a gift for a friend of mine, Courtney. I'm getting ready to go visit her in Houston when I go to Galveston. And so that's how I spent my onboard credit during these 4 weeks. And then I spent the rest, the $605 in onboard credit, along with my $500 in free play, gambling $100 here and there throughout that 28 days. I didn't earn enough points to earn any comps. What I learned is that when you're on a back-to-back sailing, your onboard credit actually rolls over. So I thought I had to use it before the last day. And so if I had like $50 or $100, I just used it up in the casino on that day to make sure that I didn't lose it. I didn't realize that it keeps adding up. Now your free play doesn't. You have to use your free play within that specific sailing, which I did. But what I could have done is spend it all in 1 week and have $1,100 to get more points. But what I'm trying to do is stay in the system, show Princess Casino Company that, you know, I'm consistently showing up, spending a little money every time that I'm on the ship to try to stay in their program. Because that's the one thing we're still trying to figure out. Okay, next up. Let's talk about my flight and hotel, because I needed to get to this cruise. And we always recommend flying in the day ahead of time instead of the day of. Unless you're driving in the day of or you're super close to the port, It's so easy. Flights are canceled all the time these days, it seems like. So just to be safe, you're going to want to make sure that you fly in the night ahead of time. So here's a quick list of my flights and hotels. I was in Arizona, Phoenix, with my family, son and daughter-in-law, nephew, and everyone is there. So hanging out in Phoenix, I took a flight on the 17th on United Airlines. I had some credit from a previously canceled flight that was getting ready to expire. It was from last year. I wanted to use that up before it expired at the end of the month. I took a first class flight, and then my balance was $216. It's a pretty quick flight to get to LA. Then I needed to get from the airport to the hotel. Took an Uber that was $85. I stayed at an IHG Crowne Plaza in Los Angeles. It's pretty close to the cruise port. The airport and the cruise port are not that close together. So that's why it was so expensive, $85 for me to get to the hotel. But once I was at the hotel, I was super close to the port. And they had a shuttle that was $5 that you could take at like 10 or 11 in the morning to get you over to the port so you can get on the boat. My hotel costs was $0 because I used 35,000 of my IHG points that I had earned through signing up for their credit card. You actually get 140,000 points when you sign up for the card and a free night every year. There's so many perks to IHG. I put all of my travel on IHG and some of my American Express Platinum, but a lot of my expenses go on to IHG. They also run offers where they'll double your points if you purchase points. Technically, once I get through these free points calculate or equal to about a half a cent each. And it's a really great card if you're traveling. There's IHG hotels around the world, and it's how I stayed in Vietnam for free as well. So I'm going to put a link in the description to click on if you're interested in applying for the IHG card through Chase, or just learning more about the perks and deciding if it's something that you might be interested in doing. There'll be a link in the description. So I got off pretty easy. This flight was pretty inexpensive, and I had $0 costs for hotels. So it's not always this way. Over the last 5 to 6 months, beyond this, sometimes my flights and hotels are more expensive. So I got away this first month pretty inexpensively with only $306. Next, let's talk through my out-of-pocket expenses. So these are things that I spent with my IHG credit card or cash. And so sometimes the spa services on the cruise ship can be a little expensive. And so convenient, and it's so nice. And I love the teams that work on the ships. But I thought since we're in Mexico, I can really get my nails done and get a massage pretty inexpensively. So I found a place close to the port, walked over there, and got a massage and my nails done for a total of $75, and that included a tip. In Puerto Vallarta, there's also a Walmart right across from the port, which I just thought was interesting to go to stores in other countries where they just carry different product. But I really needed some protein powder, some protein bars, some water shoes, just some things that I hadn't packed. Since I'm at the beginning of this journey, I spent $116 in Walmart just grabbing a bunch of those kind of inexpensive things. The first of every month, I budget out my recurring expenses. So I don't have a house or a car or any of those utilities or, water, trash, any of those types of expenses. But I do have my cell phone, health insurance, online subscriptions for YouTube without commercials, and giving. So I really believe in paying it forward and have a budget set up for just donations and giving back. And then also tips. I'll do a whole video on tipping on a cruise ship. But when I have crew members that just go above and beyond and make my day and journey just unbelievably amazing, I just want to thank them for that. And sometimes I'll give them tips, usually in cash, and then buy little presents along the way too. and give them a tip, write a nice card, and give them a little present. It's just something that I love to do. And then I did have pesos that I was using, and just spent like pesos here and there, like a little inexpensive bracelet. I didn't really track like every peso, but I had cashed in $40 in USD and wound up using up those pesos before I got off this ship. So my total out of pocket, and this one is the most expensive area, was $1,463. So now let's go to the finale. So here's my final. The final roll up, my total cost for this 28-day living on a cruise ship was $3,289.67. And I put together this bar chart for visual that you could just see kind of where my expenses are. And my cruise fare and fees is first in the blue bar was $720. My deposits, because I spent these deposits, I spent this onboard credit, and I also spent it in the casino. I'm counting that as an expense at $800. My flights were $216. My hotels were $0. My ground transportation was $90. And then my out-of-pocket recurring expenses was $1,463. So this is how I lived for the month. You could do this completely differently. You may have different healthcare costs, different, recurring expenses than me. You might be able to save money in this area. It is my most expensive area and it is discretionary. The other area, again, I was lucky that I had a pretty close flight that was pretty inexpensive, and my hotel points help a lot to make my hotels free. Now, your cruise port fees and taxes, those are set. There's nothing you can do. Those are required. They're mandatory. It doesn't matter what kind of offer you're getting. You have to pay those port fees and taxes. And they vary depending on the port you go to and the number of ports you go to. Certain ports are more expensive, like in the Panama Canal. You'll see in next month's information, it's expensive for a cruise ship to port there. They pay more in port fees, and so your port fees and taxes are something that you can't reduce, you can't change, they're mandatory. Now, your deposits, this $800 in onboard credit, this is an area where you could choose to turn this into cash and just have that money go towards buying your next cruise or paying for your next port fees and taxes or covering your credit card bill for those port fees and taxes. You could choose to use it in that way. And some of my cruises I did, and you'll see coming up, saved some of that onboard credit, didn't just spend it in the casino. So if you can reduce that $800 and then reduce the $1,400 in your discretionary spending, you could get this monthly number down to $2,000, even $2,500. I feel like $3,200 to pay for all of my costs, food, housing, entertainment, and I get to be in Mexico, walk to the beach, right? The sun, the pool, like the gym, all the things that I love. And I'm not trying to live on a budget as cheap as I possibly can, because I know you can do this cheaper. I'm trying to enjoy my life and be comfortable without, bougie on a budget. So I want to still get massages, get my hair and nails done, do some shopping, donate and give to others. And that's how I'm choosing to use my money after working so hard for 40 years. So how you choose to use your money is completely up to you. I think this was a great month. I think you can do it cheaper. If you were wanting to stay within a lower budget, I think it's absolutely possible. And one thing that you'll see that I learned that I think is really important is your future cruise deposit onboard credit. So when you put down or you purchase a future cruise deposit, and you can buy as many as you want at a time. Sometimes I'll buy like 5 or 10 at a time because I'm booking so many cruises. You put down $100. They're refundable if you don't use them in a year. You get that $100 back. And then with that deposit, that'll go towards your next cruise. So if your cruise is $800, it'll cost you $700. They'll use that deposit. But depending on the length of that cruise that you applied that deposit, you also get onboard credit, anywhere from $50 to $100, $150. Sometimes, depending if the cruise is longer, you get an onboard credit that can run $50, $100, $150. And again, if you just start to add up that onboard credit list that you can technically turn into cash, that's just helping to pay back your port fees and taxes, your flights, your out-of-pocket expenses to live, and all of these little things keep adding up. So let me know what you think about this video, the content, the information that I've shared. Please leave in the comments if there's things that you liked, things that you didn't like. As I work on next month's results and dollars spent, I can make some of those adjustments. I'm happy to provide additional details for you. And then I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll put all the information that I mentioned in the description. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that when the next sailing details come out, it's going to be on the Regal Princess that I took out of Galveston, Texas, will be the next review. And then as I go every 6 months and the end of the year, I'll just be comparing. I'll do month over month and kind of a roll up for the entire year, so you can get a better sense of what my expenses were month by month, and then what my total expenses were for 2025, to see if this is something that could be feasible to you. The other thing I wanted to quickly mention is up shortly is also a video on how to save money if you're not wanting to go to the casino or gamble at all. Because I know there's lots of you that are interested in either how do I book my first cruise? So if I do want to get into the system, how do I save money on that very first cruise that I have to pay out of pocket? And just cruising in general. I do have some tips and things that I've been learning along the way myself, and then just talking to other cruisers every single day. So I'll put together that information because I'm hoping that could be really helpful too. Thanks so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you all. Hope to see you on a cruise one day. Thanks.